Hello there. I'm Carrie Schochet from Purple Squirrel Advisors, and I'm really excited to be with Bill Kieffer. And Bill, I just would love it if you could just take a brief moment to introduce yourself.
I'd be glad to, Carrie. It's great to be here with you today. I'm Bill Kieffer. I'm President and Chief Advisor of Kieffer Associates. It's a independent coaching and advisory firm that works with individuals and organizations to help optimize their talent capability. I've got a long history of leading HR talent management and some operations functions in large, complex global companies, and I had a long career as a military officer prior to that.
Yep, and thank you as always for your service. I know you do a lot for the veteran community, which
I do.
is very needed. So wanted to talk today though about the idea of storytelling and as specifically, in interviews or just in business. Storytelling is an important skill. And we recently posted a question as a poll on LinkedIn about, storytelling and how long should it take to tell your story. I've seen a little bit of everything. In some cases, I've seen candidates, take 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And in some cases, they keep it short. And I know your advice is to keep it short and the idea of a minute to win it. So maybe tell us a little bit more about your thoughts there.
Yeah, I would, and I appreciate that. There's all different types of stories to tell, and there's different stories to tell at different times. If you're out networking, making initial connections, maybe doing informational interviews, I always believe it's best to come in pretty quick, be clear, be concise, tell your whole story, but tell it very quickly and be interesting. I mean, you want to be interested, certainly, but be interesting so that the listener, whoever that networking partner is, can get their interest piqued. So they want to ask more questions.
Ask a question, right?
Yeah.
The whole idea is to give them just enough where they're going to ask a question on something that specifically, resonated with them about that brief story.
Right. Because sometimes when you tell a really long story, you're talking about stuff that's irrelevant to the listener's ear. So if you give just a little bit, then they can pick it up and take the conversation where they need it to go to help support their needs.
Exactly. No, that's a great point. Yeah, you just want to prompt those questions so that you're providing that listener with what's most interesting and valuable to them.
Sure.
So in an interview, I think it's really cool when, the candidate can start with just making a brief connection to kind of how did they initially get into the field or what inspired them, and then kind of really quickly getting through some of those earlier details and ending with, and why I'm here today is X. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
No, absolutely. And I think that goes to the two bits of why hiring managers hire. One is, can you likely do the job they need done? And two, are you going to fit in and add value to the team? And adding value and fitting in is not just about the technical, tactical stuff. It's about who you are and what you value and what your priorities are and what you're interested in. So if you can throw that kind of information in very quickly and very cleanly, it can really add to the richness of the conversation.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Because at the end of the day, your technical skills are important, but you also need to find out if there's a values alignment and if there's other alignment, with the role aside from what's, on paper, both on the job description and the resume. So getting to that point in the interview is really important.
It is. And I think doing a little homework ahead of time too. Whether you're interviewing or it's an informational interview or network, do a little bit of homework to understand who's going to be in the room, a little bit about the organization, a little bit about the context that you're meeting in, so you can establish some kind of connection beyond just the technical stuff.
Yeah, and then framing the conversation around, the role. So for example, if the role is focused on process improvement or whatever the case may be, you want to, when you tell your story, probably focus on the times when you've done something similar or you've impacted a organization through process improvement. But telling all the other things that maybe aren't as extremely relevant isn't going to add value to that particular conversation.
No, sure enough. I like to use an example. I'm an HR talent management professional. I coach, I advise. I can't weld. I'm not a good welder.
Yeah.
I don't bring that up because it's irrelevant to many of the conversations. Right. Similarly, if I was a welder that happened to also know HR, if I'm going for the welding job, I'm going to focus on the welding.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, I think we've got probably something more that we can discuss in a next video, just deeper into this topic. But I think this was a great overview. I love the idea of the minute to win it and really framing those ideas to make an impact and elicit the questions. Anything else on this topic before we move on to the next one?
No, I think that's a pretty good start. The minute to win it, you never get a chance to make a second impression.
That's great. Thank you, Bill.